What's going on, guys? Welcome to Midday Due Diligence with me, Stevie J. I got Massey with me here today, part of Pick Six Sports. So you guys go ahead. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, do all the things that you need to do in order to continue growing this page with us. And Massey, I appreciate you just tweeting that out because we kind of did this on a whim.
Yeah, kind of last minute stuff, man.
I'm going to be doing this with Camber. And of course, Massey, you do a show with Camber later in the week covering your midday Cowboys talk. And Lunatic, that's what's going on. Camber has this clay shoot that she puts on. It's a charity event, and it's a huge deal for her. And it's
a huge deal, period. Yeah.
Absolutely. And she's in the thick of that right now. So time is a little bit strenuous on her. I reached out to Massey and was like, hey, man, you want to hop on? We've never done anything together, actually. So I'm really excited.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm excited, too, to get to be here with the Mr. Due Diligence. I'm super excited. And TC, man, I'm trying to talk myself off the ledge, so we'll get we'll get rolling here, man.
I know, and I don't know if we're gonna do any good at talking anyone off the ledge here today.
Oh man, yeah, seriously. What up? Nick's is in the building.
Nick's in the building. What's up? Let's see. It needs to be a Detroit Lions 0-17 level of implosion. I'm not about that life. But
yeah, not about that life. That's not. Oof.
I get it. I mean, folks you see a performance like that, which was, I mean, as you get closer to game time, I think the excitement, it kind of becomes a little bit more optimistic. You're thinking that, you know what, maybe we'll be able to go out there and this will happen and that'll happen and we'll be able to ball out. But I think everything that we feared throughout the offseason pretty much came to fruition, with the exception of the kicker.
Yeah. Hey, 1 for 1. He's kicking 100%. There we go. A good kick from him straight down the middle. 51 yards or something like that. So, hey, that's a good thing. Here's the issue is that there's been a group of us who have been screaming for a while that, hey, this offseason wasn't great. We did not do enough. We got worse, especially on offense. And we got rid of some really good players and did nothing to replace them. And, there was pushback on that. Some people believed in this front office and some people believed in the guys that they replaced him with. And it didn't work out well. I mean, it's week 1. We don't want to. Here's the thing. We don't want to crazy overreact, knee-jerk react to week 1. Everybody did that last year with the Green Bay Packers. They're probably doing it again this year with the Green Bay Packers. They've had back-to-back week 1s where they've gotten absolutely embarrassed. And then last year, they went on and they played really well. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. We don't know. All I'm saying is don't knee-jerk react to week 1. But the problem is that there's so much bad that happened along with just a poor showing. Dak Prescott injury out 6 to 8 weeks. McGovern injury out 4 weeks. Now we're finding out Curse has an MCL injury out 2 to 4 weeks. So it just kind of like piled up at the end of the game with how bad it was going, and everything just kind of piled up.
Yeah, and we were talking about that Dak injury off camera a little bit earlier today, and talking about Tyler Smith. And I think you and I kind of had the same idea, just coming from a different place. So I'm looking at, man, my expectation for him is the floor. I don't think that he's going to do much as a left tackle. And then you see some good things from him. And I'm like, okay, he was better than what I thought he would be. And you're coming from a place of, this is what you need your left tackle to be. And he certainly wasn't that. And so,
yes,
we kind of are in the same place. We just started out coming from a different angle. But at the end of the day, Tyler Smith wasn't ready. He was put in a bad position by this coaching staff, by this front office. And I think that when you look at some of the things that happened, I just finished up my my thoughts and notes. And when you look at the snap where Dak gets hurt, all right, he's laid off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Smith is, and he gets beat around the edge by Shaq Barrett, I believe it is. Yep. There's another play in the game where Tyler Smith, they have a wide rusher and he crashes inside to help his guard, leaving the wide rusher completely unblocked. These are things that are happening for an unprepared tackle that wouldn't happen to a guard because it's not going to be a part of his assignment. He's never going to be asked to do that sort of thing. So the preparation as a tackle, to me, is really what caused some of those circumstances to take place. And that is both on the player and on the coaching staff and on the front office all together. It was a group effort, guys. It was really a group effort.
Yeah, 100%. And you're spot on about our different views of Tyler Smith and how he was going to perform. I get it. Coming in at, hey, this is what I'm expecting out of Tyler Smith, and this is what I got. I get that viewpoint. My viewpoint is going to be like, here's my baseline for the left tackle position. You know, how did he play up, stack up to that? And he didn't even meet that level. And, you know, there was good reps. And that's I've said this over and over again. I get it from Brian Broaddus, is that no position is graded tougher, even quarterback, than the offensive line, because you can have like 50 snaps and you can have 3 bad, like really bad snaps, and that could be a bad game out of like 50 something. So like they're graded very tough. So yeah, he had some good snaps. I'm not going to take that away from him. He had some good snaps. He's powerful. He has traits to be a good player. But the bad snaps are what stand out when you're looking at offensive line play. I tweeted this out. Shaquille Barrett was number 2 in week 1 in pass rush and win rate. Now, I get it. Not every rep came against Tyler Smith, but a lot of them did. And he was number 2 in the league. He had a pass rush win rate of 46.7%. Only Micah Parsons was higher at 60%, which we know Micah Parsons is just a monster, especially having that pass rush win rate going against their tackles that they have. I know Donovan Smith got injured, but still, he was working both of them before even he got injured. But that was kind of where I was feeling with Tyler Smith is, look, Dukes just put it out. I agree with him 100%. He's better suited for guard. And, hey, Nix is in the building.
Hey! Surprise, surprise.
Just getting home, man?
Yeah, I just got home about 30 minutes or so ago. So yes, my studio is not currently set up, and I'm on the front porch. I guess you can see the porch sign behind me.
I hope you're not locked out, man.
No, I'm good. I'm good. No, I'm good on that front. Yes, I'm good on that front. But where are we at here, guys? I just chimed in, so
we were just making some comments about what was going on and what we saw. Talking about Tyler Smith a little bit. You know, there was some good, there was some bad.
Right.
You know, Big Duke's he tweeted out today, like, look at this guy right now in his career is better suited for left guard. He is, and especially with the way the team set him up. And I said this to Stevie earlier: is the team set him up for failure, practicing no reps at all at left tackle, all preseason, all camp,
right,
and then, hey, throw you out at left tackle starting week 1. They set this entire offense up for failure. 0 reps from any of the main starters. They looked rusty. You know, I had a tweet from a buddy of mine who's a Packers fan that said, hey, at least your starting offense got your preseason game out of the way now. I was like, right? Because we didn't have a preseason for our starting offense, basically. So, you know, it was a colossal failure from the front office and the coaching staff setting this team up for week 1. It honestly was.
Yeah, it's just, you know,
I get that.
Right. Yeah. But again, it's just kind of the big thing I've talked about during this entire preseason and training camp is adequate NFL depth, not just having good bodies, but adequate NFL depth. And I know me and you, Stevie, we talked about this a lot in the spaces of, hey, this offensive line is very in flux from where it's been before. We needed to see them in preseason kind of come out here and play together. And the one thing that was the big red flag for me that I talked about a lot was whenever Nick Eatman during the Broncos joint practice was saying, well, you know, McGovern's getting a lot of these snaps because the availability of Tyron Smith would mean he would be going to the starting lineup. And it's like, okay, so at this point when he said that, I'm okay, so Tyler Smith is basically the plan when, you know, Tyron goes down. And back to what you said, man, so like outside of like the rookie OTAs, he didn't get no work at left tackle. And they said, okay, never mind, go play left tackle. So, very frustrating on that front. Also very frustrating, Stephen Jones, with a lot of the blaming every single thing he possibly can besides, the problem at hand. Not exactly what, Cowboys Nation wants to hear anytime after a loss. But, I mean, just the colossal letdown that we saw from this offense, regardless, there's enough share to go around, and they should take some of it too.
Yeah, and that's a problem, them not being willing to take any kind of blame. I mean, look, I've heard Jerry Jones, and it's been a long time. It's probably been a decade. I've heard him say himself, if a GM performed the exact same, if they hired a GM and he performed the exact same, made all the same moves, he'd fire him. He wouldn't keep him around.
Right.
And that's what's kind of like, all right, it's almost like you're willing to admit that, hey, we're not going anywhere no matter how bad we do, but you're not actually willing to admit that you do bad. And that's really where I am with this team right now with Stephen Jones and his comments. And look, I take my issues with Mike McCarthy as well. I don't think he's a great guy in terms of preparation. I mean, we saw how they came out in the playoff game against San Francisco. It felt a lot like that. And to be honest, I mean, in a lot of the same woes, offensive line woes then, offensive line woes now. I mean, what
the problem
really
is – okay, go ahead, Steve.
No, what bothered me is seeing after the fact of Devin White coming out and saying, yeah, they talked all this about running and running and running. We never believed that they were actually going to do it. We never believed that they were going to run the football. So he really called their bluff. Mm-hmm. And all this time, Dallas was better suited to run the football because the run blocking is ahead of the pass blocking at this point in time. You got two very capable runners. You never gave the ball to CeeDee Lamb in those types of ways. You tried him downfield, but you never tried the screens. You never tried a handoff, a jet sweep, anything of that nature to get the ball in his hands creatively outside of this weird double reverse 10 yards in the backfield where it was supposed to go to Tony Pollard and then Dalton Schultz spins around and blocks Noah Brown and it
knocks him off. Noah Brown wasn't blocking well, but he knocked him off the block.
Exactly. And there was like 8 guys not blocking on that play.
Yeah. The problem is what you've hit on, Steve, is that you have a front office that has no accountability. Like there's nobody to hold them accountable. And the fans, we can try and we some of us do, but they don't care because they're still selling tickets. They're still selling merchandise. They're worth $6 billion or whatever it is. Like they're worth more than any other sports franchise in the entire world. So they don't care. There's no accountability for the team at all. And it is super frustrating. And
there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Like literally nothing.
Yeah. Real quick, we got a super chat in here. Says Jerry and Steven, first and foremost, shelter, I got Chris. By the way, appreciate it, man. Says Jerry and Steven would have been fired if they had their current jobs on any other team. Tell me I'm wrong. The front office is the number one problem still.
100%. They've been gone a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think Nick's is breaking up a little bit.
All right. I'm sure he's going to get back up in here.
Yeah. But like you were saying on the offensive line, you're 100% right on that offensive line issue. And it's the same things because you look at it, they're still doing what they did last year. They're rushing 4. They're getting home with 4. And they're being able to play coverage with the rest of the 7. That makes it very difficult for receivers to get open. That makes it very difficult for Dak to throw in those tight windows, and while under pressure from a 4-man rush. It's just wild that this didn't get addressed at all.
Yeah, and can you hear me now? Am I not breaking down no more?
No, you're good now. You're absolutely good now.
Awesome. All right, and back to what Chris was saying. That's what I was leading up with Stephen Jones and talking about all the different blame besides them, obviously. But it goes back to what I said probably 2 weeks prior to the kickoff to the season before I left to go on vacation. And I really do believe this. Here's the disconnect from the front office to everybody in the whole wide world. They believe this roster's talented. Mm-hmm. They really do. Like, they really, really think that, like, when they're saying those things, it's not tongue in cheek. This is how they kind of believe. Now, when you're so far removed from actual football stuff, sure, that sounds great. But, people in the know understand, like, hey, it's not what you think it is, especially, with this depth and different things. And, directly after the game, I was like, go look around the league, guys. look, 12 personnel, we talked about that heavily, what they want to get to, and that's fine. But even within that construct, who else has a Noah Brown as their number 2 wide receiver in this league? Who?
Packers.
No.
And due to an injury, maybe, yeah. I mean, it's just like,
look,
yeah.
I like Noah Brown, and I think
So
Noah Brown could be a solid number 3, but he is not a number 2. And if Noah Brown is your number 2, you have issues 100%, as we saw. Like, Noah Brown didn't have a terrible game yesterday. He made a few plays, made a few catches, and I think he's a solid number 3. And I think he can give you put up similar numbers that Wilson put up last year. But he's not a number 2. He's not going to be the guy who you're like, oh yeah, I feel comfortable with him as your number 2, as a number 2 receiver with Lamb, because you can see he doesn't have the speed to scare anybody. He's a possession receiver, so he doesn't have the speed to back anybody off and scare anybody. So Lamb is getting doubled, triple teamed all game, and they're saying beat us with anybody else, and we can't do it.
And I mean, that just goes back to, your 4th wide receiver last year, Wilson's probably the best wide receiver in this roster outside of CeeDee Lamb. And that's just where this team is at that depth position.
So bad.
While I was banging, one of the reasons why I was banging the table for Mims is people like, why Mims? I'm like, we need an influx here of something, a shot in the arm, get the wide receiver position at this point. But yeah, man, I don't know. It was instant. I have to go back and watch the game because I just got to see it at the stadium and stuff. So I do have to go back and watch the game today at some point. But from a bird's eye view where I was and looking at it, just the offensive line up front, man, like they just couldn't. It seemed like they couldn't put it together. Even though early on, right, you had Zeke averaging 5.2 yards per carry, and then you just said, never mind, Or when you wanted to run it later on, it was just there was no ebb and flow. It kind of goes back to how it felt. Like, again, I'm going to go back and watch, but it's kind of something we all talk about, the identity of this team. And I think it was on display like they don't really truly have an identity. Like they'll start somewhere, then they're pivoting and do something else. Well, here we'll mix in a couple of trick plays, and here we are.
Here's the good thing, Nix. It's back. All 22 is back, and the Cowboys game, all 22 film. If you have NFL Plus Premium, it is back. You will have it at 6 p.m. Eastern Time starting today if you have it. So they brought all 22 back so we can actually dig deep into it. You don't have to go out and search for your resources to get it anymore like I had to last year. But they brought it back this year, so I'm excited to get into that later tonight.
And Nix, what you were saying about the run, what baffles me is just how efficient they actually were in the run game. Right. And that's something we talk about. Don't run just to run. Run right. with efficiency. And what is so mind-boggling is you were running efficiently. I mean, look at this. Read that.
Right there.
Right. 18% of snaps.
It's our bread and butter. What are we doing? Only 18% of the snaps. Why is Ferguson out there more, man?
And he's our blocker. Well, that's my thing. I get it. Ferguson, Hendershot, they're rookies and they're day 3 and undrafted. I understand that, but what are you doing with Noah Brown out there in this pirouette, double reverse back there? If you're going to do that, you can put a rookie tight end that can at least help block into 12 personnel and traditionally try to go forward. That play ended up 12 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Hendershot's a better athlete. I bet he has a way better pirouette than Schultz does.
I don't want anybody pirouetting. I don't want to see it at all.
We gotta laugh not to cry. We have to laugh not to cry.
Right. You laugh not to cry. Here's my issue: is you can watch those plays back to back, and I'll post it when I get on the all 22 tonight, and I'll show back to back plays. You have Dalton Schultz doing his little pirouette, blocking Noah Brown, who wasn't doing a great job blocking because he was a wide receiver on a defensive end. Make that make sense. But you have that, but he blocks Noah Brown off of the guy for good. And then the very next play, Dalton Schultz gets blown up by a cornerback back into CeeDee Lamb on a screen pass. And CeeDee Lamb can't catch the ball. But like that right there is the epitome of Dalton Schultz's blocking. And I don't know why we continue to rely on him to continue to block so much in those situations. Like you put a Ferguson out there. Ferguson, we've seen him be able to block, give him the shot. That's just my thoughts on it.
I agree. And here's the thing. If you're going to go into the season with the most rookies on your roster that you've had ever, then you're going to have to play them. I mean, I'm sorry, but you made that call. That's how you operated. That's how you built your roster in the offseason.
Right.
Is I think like 22% of the roster is made up of rookies, and they've never reached even 20% before in the organization's history. So this is your own doing, and you can't be scared to run those guys out there and play because it's who you got.
Well, I mean, it just goes back to this is the bed you made with your depth. You have to lay in it now. Like you can't get cute and circumvent it. Like you have to you let these guys fill up this roster, then you have to use them. The one thing we talked about this offensive line and the continuity leading up to this was Dak's health. And guys, we didn't get through 4 quarters, and he's already hurt.
Yeah,
and now the season is in peril.
Yeah, we said it. We said it leading up to it. This O-line is going to get Dak hurt. I said it before the season started. This O-line, I'm worried that this O-line is going to get Dak hurt. And we lasted 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And
now we're going to get into the last 3 seasons of Dak and how many games he's missed. That pennant is going to be wildly talked about moving forward. Go right ahead, Stevie.
And what worries me is how the front office uses that against them. Like they don't. Yeah. I don't think that they want to get deals done. I think they want to win deals. That's their issue. Is they're not like, okay, man, hey, winning. We're all about winning as well. Let's do what comes to a neutral agreement. They're like, we got to win this. We got to be able to say that we did it our way. And that is such a problem with this organization is they can't, they say they'll win at all costs. We know that's not true. They won't win at all costs. They have to win their way, the way they want it done. That comes from contract negotiations. It comes from scheme, game plan, everything, right down to personnel. They have to do it a certain way. It can't be just, hey, whatever it takes to score more points than the opponent, that's the way we want to get it done. That's why we're hiring you, whoever you may be, coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, quarterback. It does not matter. No, they're back there going, okay, here's how we're going to do it. And if we don't do it, we'll find someone who will. The only problem is you haven't found anybody who can.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy part too there is like and wrap this around your brain for a second. D-Law might not be here if it wasn't for Jerry Jones because of how Steven was operating and the offer that he gave him. And then Jerry's not giving him the money. And then you fast forward that even into the Randy Gregory situation. Jerry Jones stayed up with Gregory and his agent until midnight. Well, the following morning they come in to sign it. They're not even seeing Steven. They're seeing another guy. Now the language has changed, and it made the whole thing fall apart because, back to what you just said, Steven wanted to win it his way.
Yeah.
So, boom, he's out of the room now because once y'all had the handshake deal at around midnight, you come back in the following morning to go ahead and close it on out, and now there's a curveball that was in there, and now you're trying to find Steven instead of you were talking to somebody else who's going to get you to sign the contract. Steven's not there. You pivot and he's out the door. It's lunacy at times how this team is ran.
Guys, I'm going to say it right now, and you might call me crazy, but I'm getting the feeling that Dak might not want to re-sign with this team.
It's fair.
Get no pushback from me.
I think that we can honestly might see these last couple of years come up, and then Dak says, I want to go somewhere else that actually wants to try to win games instead of try to sell tickets.
Well, think about DeMarcus Lawrence leading up to the season and how that contract negotiation also went. He took less money so that they could get the Randy Gregory deal done. The Randy Gregory deal didn't get done. Now they use the money to re-sign Dorrance, to bring in Dante Fowler. Okay, so they did address it. But if you listen to what D-Law says in, I think it was a podcast he was on.
Yeah.
He's not happy with the way they negotiated.
Absolutely not at all.
Even after it all got done, he was very, very annoyed, and more players are starting to speak out, like willingly. This is something that it's a unspoken rule that you don't really talk about these things publicly. You don't really bash how the negotiation went. there's going to be some tension in negotiations, no matter what, no matter who it is,
right.
every organization. But here in Dallas, those frustrations are starting to bubble over. They're starting to get out into the public. And I would not be surprised if you start seeing other players coming off rookie contracts go, oh, this is that experience that D-Law was talking about. This is what y'all – okay, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go help this team win a championship.
Yeah. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Look, Jerry Jones built – when he took over this team, Jerry Jones built a reputation around the league of taking care of his players, even to a detriment. Even to where, like, you were like, why are you re-signing this player? Why are you being so loyal to this player? In a few short years of Stephen Jones taking over, he has completely pulled a 180 and destroyed that narrative. Players do not feel taken care of on this team anymore.
No, they don't.
They don't feel loyalty at all.
And you know, the weird thing of what we're seeing now is, and I tell people all the time, you have to understand the gap of where these players are coming up from and how young they are and how they deal in social media and stuff as prior generations. And it matters. And the Joneses have been very much willing on local radio and whatnot to negotiate through the media. And now these players are very, you know, acclimated to how the social media thing works. And you're going to see that more and more come forward because now they have their own lane and their own avenue to go out here and say what they want. And we'll see more of these things come to light here in Dallas if things is business as usual, in my opinion. The man, it was just frustrating, you know, that because now you got Connor McGovern out too for probably 2 to 4 weeks. So now, what's the move now? Is it going to be now you're going to move Smith back inside, and now Peters is going to be there, or are you going to run with Farniok? I mean,
that has to be the move. The move has to be throw Smith back inside where he played all preseason and all training camp. Throw him back inside where he looked like he was playing really good there, and let Peters come back in. And we know Peters is not going to be the all-pro that he was before, but we know that he's going to be serviceable. He was good with the Bears last year, and he's going to be an improvement. So both positions on the left side immediately get a improvement, in my opinion, if that's your move. And so that has to be the move to me.
I totally agree with that. My only issue with it is there was talks about, okay, it'll either be week 2 or week 3 for Peters to come back. If the plan was week 3, now we're rushing.
You've got to. You forced your hand by waiting to sign him until training camp was over. You forced your hand.
It's true. That's why I tweeted out earlier about Justin Peters. I might just retire.
Yeah, right? Like, honestly, I'm like, you know what? I was on the sideline for that game. I've seen enough. I'm hanging it up, boys.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, Dex hurt. I was kind of trying to chase this ring." I live in Texas. It ain't that far for me to go home, but the concept of how they built this thing, right? It's just, you know, hey, look, man. Parsons showed up 2 sacks, right? I mean, some bright sides here. You know,
the defense played well. Despite the offense being inept, they held the Buccaneers to 19 points, which is really good. So special teams was good outside. I mean, Turpin really didn't. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I don't want to say Turpin really didn't do anything on special teams because it's just hard. You're not going to have big returns and touchdown returns every single time you touch the ball. It's just too hard in the NFL. So I can't really blame Turpin for that. The fact that he didn't get any offensive touches, that kind of bugs me, but whatever. But, like, the special teams played good, in my opinion. Defense played good. Offense just played horrible.
Maher made his kick, you know. You know.
Oh, yeah. We've already celebrated.
That was the one.
Right before you came in, we celebrated Maher hitting his kick.
Guys, I gotta say this.
Money Maher.
And it might surprise you guys basically from what you guys know about me and how I feel about offensive philosophy. But I got the shirt. I'm repping it because I think this is our game plan from now on.
What was it? Feed Zeke.
I mean, what else are we gonna do right now? That's what the game
morning
plan has to be. It has to be. It has to be feed Zeke. Because what else do we got going for our offense right now?
Well,
right.
and
we got a curse,
what,
right? They're talking about Curse out 2 to 4 weeks as well. So Izzy McConnell is probably going to be sliding in there now, is the report that I saw earlier. The bad part here is it was an ugly loss. Our preseason game's out of the way, I guess. But we took some significant injuries along the front. I mean, obviously, Dak, it is what it is there. 6 to 8 weeks probably. But even the offensive line took a hit, which we already know, like the offensive line, we don't need any more hits there. We already got one. And now your guy, the green dot in Curse, also now, going to miss some time. So, it's not a fun Monday. Not a fun Monday at all by any stretch of the imagination. So it's going to be very intriguing to see where this team goes. I feel like they're probably going to go to Cooper Rush. Oh, man, I would much rather see them go with Greer personally, but I think it'll probably be Cooper Rush. And maybe we'll see Ben DiNucci back to the practice squad, and that's what they'll roll with. I imagine that's what they'll do, but we'll see. Let me ask y'all this. Obviously, ugly game. We understand that. Can this team survive? Let's call it 7 games. Let's say 7 games. Can this team survive 7 games and stay in contention enough to wherever that gets back for them to make a push? In y'all's opinion?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the schedule, and it's friendly enough. You get a couple of division games in there. You get, I think, the Lions in there as well. I mean, it's not daunting. Obviously, you got Cincinnati coming up, but outside of that, I think the next handful of games are very winnable.
I think Dak is going to come back after the bye in week 9 and be ready for Green Bay. And that's my opinion. We'll see what happens. So let's go through the schedule and let's see what record we come up with, okay? So we got the Bengals next week in Dallas.
Yeah, the Bengals struggled mightily with that defense from Pittsburgh.
Their offensive line ain't good either.
No, they threw in Burrow 3 interceptions, maybe a little rust. So, I mean, I wouldn't just put it out of the market here that we're going to get beat by them. But, boy, that offense has got to be better, which, I mean, beating a dead horse here at this moment.
Yeah.
But it's not all the question. But let's go with the L. Let's go with the L.
I'd take an L. I'd take an L there.
I'd say L.
Okay. The Giants.
Boy, they beat the Titans.
I don't think the Titans are very good.
I don't think the Titans are very good
I think that's a W.
I could give a W on that one as well. Look, Derrick Henry coming off of a foot injury. That's a big man coming off of a foot injury, and
he did not look like their best back either.
Yeah, he may not be the same guy that he's been in the past. So you're looking at a team.
And they don't have that offensive line that they used to have anymore. That Titans team is not as good as they have been in the past years.
They don't have A.J. Brown. They're working with a rookie replacement. And also Ryan Tannehill is about as mediocre as they come in this league. I mean, that is when people say mid, that's what they mean.
Yes. I think that could be a W.
Okay. 1 and 2.
Okay. Commanders.
Could be a W. Could be an L. Jacksonville. They got up on Jacksonville. Jacksonville kind of came back in it, and then I guess they finished it off. Carson Wentz, from what I got to see, because I got to watch basically the first half before we went over to Lot 10 to tailgate. Carson Wentz looked pretty comfortable in the offense. Now, again, I didn't get to see the second half. I'm just going off what I saw in the first half. Looked pretty comfortable, delivering the ball to the wide receivers. So now we know what our defense brings to the table, and it's kind of coming back to where we were at, like. We're going to have to win a lot of games 21-17, 20-14. Yeah. Like, we have to win a lot of games that way, which against the Bucs, the Cowboys were able to show, hey, we held it to 19. Yeah. So, I mean, the Washington game is winnable. Let's come with that. Let's say we're 2-2.
I'm thinking that our defense can carry. If we run the ball and our defense plays like they're supposed to, I think that we can get a W there too. Okay? So that puts us at 2-2. At Rams, I think that's an L.
Yeah, they're going to get it together.
I just can't see them being as bad as they were. Although I will say, watching that game, it seemed like more was happening than just the Super Bowl hangover. But I'm not ready to really go all the way there yet. So let's go ahead and do an L. 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's an L. No. This one, Eagles. At Eagles.
I'm going L.
I think that's an L.
This could also be a place where your offense gets on a surprising little run, because look at what they gave up to the Lions.
Their
defense is not
good.
Their defense is not good.
And I've been saying
their offense is good though.
I've been saying that their edges, their defensive ends, their edges, their outside linebackers are not all they're cracked up to be.
And they just lost Barnett for season.
And they just lost their depth piece for a season, exactly. And Brandon Graham is 35, coming off missing 15 games.
Yep.
Josh Sweat's good,
Yeah.
Hassan Reddick is not a run defender. He's a pass rusher. He's not a run defender.
Not a run defender at all.
So and then there were some kind of talks that maybe Fletcher Cox isn't the guy that he once was. So I think that this is an interesting game. I'll give it an L with you guys just because of where we just came from last night. I can't give them the benefit of the doubt, but that's going to be a really interesting game.
Here's the thing, if, as Massey's shirt says, they really get to this run game and feed Zeke, they can go win that game. However, I'm still of the same mindset. Until they show me they're going to do it, I'm just not going to buy it. Now, what I will say, they did use Pollard more this game. We did see him in there.
He did not look explosive though.
I don't think they really. Here's where maybe me and you differ a little bit here. In look, I don't think the Kellen Moore is terrible, but what I think is I don't think he does a very good job of getting players in positions to win. It's kind of my thing.
That's fair.
Is where it's at. Is I need him to scheme I need him to be able to scheme some of these things open for people at times. He just hasn't. At least week one, right? Just week one. You know, we got to let this thing grow. That would, to me, bird's eye view looked a little bit of that. Like we kind of got back to the same situation of where we're running the plays, but I'm not really scheming these guys in the best possible position. But time will tell there.
No, and I said this before.
Let's do that there.
I said this to Steven before we got on. And look, Kellen Moore, like I love Kellen Moore. I'm a big apologist for Kellen Moore, as many people know. But he's not the best. I'm not trying to say he's the best OC in the league. I'm not trying to say that. He's not the best.
Right.
He's still young. He's still learning. He's only been doing this job for 3 years, or this is his 4th year calling plays. And so he's still learning. But he's not horrible. The guy doesn't suck. But yes, he needs to get better, like you said, at scheming players open more. But there's an issue also of how bad this offensive line is and how bad these receivers are. There's only so much you can do, really. Like
I thought the Cowboys were going to do a lot more quick game in the passing game, and they really didn't. I thought it was going to be really quick because of the offensive line, and I was like, and they didn't get to that. But you're not wrong there, Matt. So, we've banged the table from the draft all the way through about where this offensive line is, even before Tyron Smith basically got lost for the year, even into, those things. So to me, you would think, oh, we're going to do it quicker. We're going to run the ball, which early on we did, right? Early on we did. And the pass game is going to be about the quick pass game, and we're going to get into these two tight end sets and get after it. And then as said earlier, 18% in 12
good.
personnel.
That's not good enough.
Only two snaps for a Hendershot. Like that's just not going to be good enough. But we'll keep going. So now we're at 2. What are we at?
2 and 4.
2 and 4. We're 2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Okay.
Okay, Lions at Dallas.
Well, we better win that.
That's a winnable game to me. That's a winnable game to me.
Okay.
Hey,
3 and 4.
You go to 2 and 5 with a loss to the Lions at home.
People get tired.
Cowboys Twitter will be insufferable.
McCarthy be packing his bags of that.
You got to.
No, I'm telling you, the Sean Payton plan's in full effect right now.
Yes. Okay, so let's say win, because I think that's got to be a win. Okay, so that's 3 and 4. And then the Bears at Dallas. I think that's another winnable game. I don't care that they beat the 49ers in a wet and wild hurricane. Like, I don't care. Like, Trey Lance looked awful. Their starting running back got injured early in the game. He's out for a long time.
Yeah, RIP to my fantasy.
Yeah, right. So like I'm not convinced by a week 1 upset like that in a game where you can't throw the ball, you can't move the ball because it's raining so hard, and they had a fourth quarter comeback. So I think the Bears, who most people projected as one of the worst teams in the league, is going to be one of the worst teams. I think that's another possible win right there.
Okay, that gets us to what, 4 and 4?
That gets us to 4 and 4 at the bye, and Dak comes back after the bye, in my opinion, because at the bye week 9, that's 8 weeks.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you get to 4-4, then you have a chance. And one of the things we talked about on the schedule, like unlike previous years, the back half of this schedule lines up very well for Dallas. And a lot of times there's a lot of, either cross coast or the three within 18 days or rougher teams, like just different things kind of happen. But this year, one of the biggest things that stuck out to me on the schedule was the back half of the schedule sets up where Dallas could possibly get on a run.
Yes, very much so.
But you got to get to 4-4. But you got to at least be 4-4. 3-5, you might be okay at 3-5, maybe.
We started 3-5 in 2018 before we do the Amari Cooper trade. I hope we don't have to do something like that again. I hope we can get, because by that time, Dak should be back after the bye. Gallup should be back probably before that. Right. That's going to help out a little bit. Kirsch should be back by then. You're going to get some moving pieces. Your offensive line is going to get a little bit more reps. Hopefully Tyler Smith is back to playing left guard at that point, well before that point, hopefully next week or the week after. Jason Peters in there. Your left side's a little bit more. Steele is still a huge concern for me, but there's not much you can do there.
He was running up those tabs. He was running up those tabs on the
Four penalties, 3 false starts and a holding. And that's another thing with the offense. Our offense, whenever our offense did start get moving, it was always a drive-killing penalty. The offensive pass interference by CeeDee Lamb, the holdings, the false starts. I do agree, Rock Drums. I do agree the Lions are improved, but I still think they're beatable. They only won, 3 or 4 games last year? I mean,
right.
Yeah,
they're in a lot. They did lose a lot at the very end of games last year too. But
yes,
they get outside of a dumb onside kick in the third quarter, they had a chance to beat Philly.
Yeah, they tried. They fight hard. So that's the thing. You got to come to play against them because they will fight hard. But I still think I do think they're improved. I just I think they are beatable, especially with our defense. Our defense is legit, and it's going to have to carry this team if we can run the ball. Establish that, control the clock, and play great defense. I mean, geez, guys, that's how teams have been winning. I mean, that's how some teams make it to the playoffs. I'm not saying it's the key to winning. It's because that's not how you win Super Bowls anymore. But teams survive with that. The 49ers have been doing it for years.
It's true.
You run the ball, control Ravens too. You control the ball, run the ball, and you play great defense. You can win games like that.
The Browns.
You can absolutely win games like that. To be able to hold this over, but you're going to have to play. You're going to have to play well.
You said something that stood out though, and survive. Like I feel like these teams. I mean, think about who we're talking about. Think about how far they've gone in the playoffs. That's what the run game gives you in the NFL now is a little bit of survival.
Yep.
Is like, okay, we can get through these bad teams in the league by doing this, but once you get into the postseason, you're going to have to be able to throw the ball and put up points because you're going to run into Patrick Mahomes. You're going to run into Josh Allen. You're going to run into quarterbacks who can put up. I mean, look, Tampa Bay and the Bucs last year scored the most points per game in the NFL. Tom Brady did it. Second most points per game in the NFL.
Yeah. Dallas is number 1.
Okay. I mean, points still stand. I mean,
yeah.
But at the end of the day, that is survival mode. Now, with that said, I think last night they should have ran the ball more. They preached about running the ball more. I think they were better suited in that game to run more because of what the offensive line currently is. And what's surprising is they actually did well despite looking directly at Vita Vea, William Golston, Shaq Barrett. The defensive front is solid. They were one of the best run-stopping teams in the NFL last year, but you had success. Why they went away from that, why they preached about it for months and months and then come in here and don't do it, it almost felt like, and especially based off of Devin White's comments after the game, it felt like they were trying to do some sort of like reverse psychology against the Bucs or something, saying the whole way leading up to it. And then Devin White says after the game, we never bought it. We never believed it. We never thought they were actually going to run the ball. And they didn't, despite a busted line, despite not having offensive weapons to throw to. They still didn't stick to the run game that they had planned on doing. And we're having success with. That's what really blows my mind is, Nix, I was telling Massey earlier, we talk about not running the ball just for the sake of running the ball, but running the ball efficiently. They were doing that and left it. But last year, while Zeke's hurt, we'll pound our head against a brick wall just for the heck of it. We will just, over and over and over without any kind of efficiency or success. But suddenly you're efficient, you are successful, and you quit. You give up on it.
Here's my other thing too. And let me ask y'all, because last year we heard, Stephen Jones came from the Raptors and said, no, Cowboy football, run the ball. That's what you got to do with Zeke. He's paid. Run that rock, right? Okay. So you talked about it this whole time. We got to game one. Well, who is it? Who's calling it here? Because now we're not, we're running the ball well. Let's get – but even on the grander scheme of things, we'll do stuff well, whether a particular lineup or passing or whatever it is, and it'll work well, and then we'll just not do it anymore in the game. We've seen the history of that. But in general, we had Stephen Jones, all the reports were by, sources. He came down and said after the first couple of weeks, we need to run the ball more no matter what, run. And now we get into, game one, and we're doing things efficiently in the run game, and then magically just said, it worked. Cool. Next. And I don't know. Again, it's the construct of this organization and how it's built and what do you want to believe and what you don't want to believe as far as how they want to attack and what they want to do offensively. And we hear all these different things. And then, if it's going this way, this guy said it. And then if it goes the other way, who's really calling it? I think that's probably the most maddening thing for Cowboys Nation in general with this offense, because it should be right now for sure. And it should have been last night too, of being efficient with this run game in the 12 personnel, because you've got these guys here now. You've upgraded that room that we've talked about. Like the tight end room is light years better than last year, and you just decided not to use it. Like, are we holding this? It gets back to last year. Like, we're holding place for the playoffs, so we're not going to show our whole hand doing this. So, like, what are we doing? And I think that's just a frustrating thing in general with this team.
Yeah, it really is.
If we're gonna knock out some positives, we're gonna have to switch sides of the ball. Defensively, they played pretty well. And, Micah Parsons was every bit of what we anticipated. And I've been saying this, the best part of the offseason for the Dallas Cowboys was the fact that Micah Parsons is not a rookie anymore. That was the biggest thing that happened for this team in the offseason was Micah Parsons goes from year one to year two. And that's great. And I think that no matter what move you make, that could probably still be the biggest factor for the Dallas Cowboys. But it also speaks to how little they did here in the offseason. Defensively, they had a sneaky good offseason. Anthony Barr, though we didn't really see a whole lot from him last night. Dante Fowler, of course. And then you get Jaron Kearse re-signed. You get that deal done. Malik Hooker, that deal done. Dan Quinn, that deal done. So defensively, you could look at it and go, okay, actually they were all right. They had a pretty productive offseason. And then suddenly, D-Law makes just a beautiful stuff on a move on Shaq Mason that left him literally at his knees. And then they decided we're not running over there anymore. We ain't even trying.
We're done.
They only ran to the left side. Yeah, they only ran to the – you ain't lying. Here's the thing, it's so frustrating about this is how long were we pounding the table to fix this defense? How many years were we pounding the table to fix this defense? And the offense was high powered, scoring like crazy, and we're like, fix the defense, and this is a Super Bowl team. And they fix the defense and then automatically just counterbalance and destroy the offense. Like, hey, cap space, there's only so much of the pie. We can't have a good defense and a good offense, guys.
They can only concentrate on one side of the ball.
Right? It's mind-blowing.
It is very weird.
The other side too, because we know cornerbacks and the yardage they give up means so much. And, I've said it a ton, like Diggs will be better. It won't have as many interceptions. I'll give him 33 yards. I'm going to keep tabs on that throughout the year. He only gave up 33 yards yesterday, Diggs did. I know Jalen Ramsey gave up about $150 million. So there we go.
And I'll say right now, there's not a cornerback in this league or in the history of this league that can defend that touchdown throw and catch.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was in a place that most no defensive back is catching or knocking down, and few wide receivers could even catch that. He had to jump backwards, reach out his arm backwards, and like Odell Beckham Jr. to catch that. It was just an amazing play, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, I mean, it was, look, and Diggs was asking for offensive pass interference after. There was a little push off, but it was so smooth. It was such a clean little push.
I'm not even talking about the push off. The push off is one thing, but go back and watch it at the snap. Evans smacks the hell out of Diggs on his helmet. Literally smacks the hell out of him, slaps him right across the face. Like, is that allowed? That's not allowed. You can't just smack this shit out of the defender.
I don't know. Who was the old defensive lineman from back in the day? That was his move, the old double
Reggie
tap.
White. Eric Williams, they outlawed it because Eric Williams blocking Reggie White. We used the old head slap. And
they outlawed it.
Yeah, they outlawed it. So,
of course, every rule
another one of those rules for the Cowboys.
Yeah,
it's always on the Cowboys.
Every rule in the book has something to do with the Cowboys, but they were even talking about that last night with the scoreboard, punting on the scoreboard. They were like, there's hardly any stadiums that have specified rules, but this one certainly does. Deacon Jones, I think that's right. The defensive line move coming in and
also too, maybe y'all can tell me from what I got to see. It seemed like LV was productive last night.
LV had a good night.
Like I said, I didn't. Like I said, from what I could see and everything, looked like LV played pretty well. So I mean, again, defensively, man, if you come out of there, look, if before we went to the game, right, and we were told, hey, they're going to hold underneath 20, they're going to hold the Bucs to 19. You feel pretty good about that. The Cowboys can get it up there. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. But in general, like just at times where they did bend, they didn't break. Timely, going back to year 2, Micah, the timely sacks that he was able to get, just cornerbacks in general, they just did a good job. Like, you go look at the stats and what they did, you can't be mad at just the offense just couldn't get anything going. But that's exciting for what they'll have to do, and we kind of knew this going into it, but seeing the defense walk through that door, makes you feel a lot better about it as well. Also, I do have a complaint about the stadium, and I've noticed this. They have this nice little decibel meter thing from, Reliant or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, it goes up and down. Man, look, stop lying. Just stop lying with the numbers. Some over 100 decibels. Like, it's quiet. And it's like 88, and it goes up to 101 decibels. I'm like, no. I'm looking around like, no.
The volume didn't increase at all. They just just went up.
Yeah, it's just a video graphic. It's going to say that it could be dead quiet in there, and it's going to say 100 decibels.
Yeah, they're going all over the way. They'll drop down to 88, then it'll go to 90. They'll drop down to 88, then it'll go into 101.2. And then magically, right before it goes off, it's like at 103. I'm like, get out of here. Stop lying to me. This is late in the game, too. It's like, what are we doing?
But the good thing is, as we mentioned already, Micah Parsons had the 2 sacks. But he also had 2 tackles for loss. And Stevie, you said it a lot. You say it all the time. What are tackles for losses? What are they equivalent to?
It's essentially a sack.
It's a sack.
Essentially a sack. The same way.
One brings up 2nd and 13. The other brings up 2nd and 13. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Basically. Yeah.
Lamar Jackson got sacked yesterday twice for 2 yards. But that TFL from D-Law was -3. So what?
Yeah.
But D-Law didn't have no sacks.
Exactly.
Right.
It's essentially a sack. And so, I mean, that guy was playing in the backfield all night long.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing in the backfield. He was.
Big time.
I said it. I don't know. I don't think you were on earlier, Nix, when I said it, but man had a 60% pass rush win rate last night.
Parsons,
let's go.
Insane against their tackles. That's insane.
Yeah. And that's and Donovan Smith is a good player.
Donovan Smith is one of the best left tackles in the league, and Tristan Wirfs is probably the best right tackle in the league,
bar none. Easy.
So and he was treating them like they was children out there. Just wait till we talk about Cincinnati, like they have line struggles.
It's true.
And so let's see what he does out there, because
I know it's TJ Watt, but before he got hurt, TJ Watt was working La'el Collins.
He was. And it's hard. You got the reigning defensive player of the year. TJ Watt is amazing. And Micah Parsons is going to be able to do the same thing. Parsons is just that type of player. I mean,
It's
so
true.
that's
It's
what
true,
happens.
man. And look, and this is what the team's rallying call, especially with Dak being out, is going to have to be. It's going to be about Parsons and how he's leading this defense, and holding these teams under 20 points to give this offense an opportunity to get out here, put up 21 and win.
Now I gotta say, guys, I have been against this his whole career, because I love the X factor that he can be, where you can just line him up anywhere. He can cover, he can rush the middle, blitz, he can line up a defensive tackle, he can blitz the A and B gap. But how effective he was at defensive end, you might just say, like, dude, just make him a full-time defensive end, because how dominant. And I get it. I've been against it because of how versatile he is and how he can do everything, how he can cover. But man, like, he made a couple coverage plays yesterday that were good too. And it's just like, man, but as a defensive end, he's so disruptive in the backfield.
Well, speaking of that, Basham went down too, didn't he?
Yeah, Basham went down. I don't know. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything on the length of it, but he looked like he was in some pain.
He did, and I just got to wonder. Now suddenly, are you going to put Sam Williams over on that side, because he's more of the strength type of guy? And I didn't see anything out of Dante Fowler. I did see some flashes from Sam Williams. I saw a pretty good bull rush. I don't remember even seeing Dante Fowler.
I don't either.
So I don't know. Obviously, Micah Parsons is going to have to be used in the most impactful way. We got someone saying 1 to 2 weeks on Basham, so there's another guy just down.
Another one.
I think that you might take it from, if he's 60-40, 60%, linebacker in coverage, playing a traditional type of spot versus 40% rushing. I'm switching those. Now I'm going to be 60% letting that guy get on the edge. How much we saw him line up. This is where Tampa Bay surprised me. Parsons didn't have as much success going up the middle against Hainsey as he did coming off the edge. And that surprised me a little bit. I thought that Hainsey, large part, had a pretty good game. But Parsons off the edge, man, you're right. You're more one-on-ones, less help against him if you're the opposition, if you're the opposing offensive line. Be willing to use him to dictate what they're doing.
Yeah, of course, the only thing that pseudo worries me in that is I think part of the win rate and stuff that happens for him is because of not always being in the same spot, right? And we saw the Leonard Fournette hit on him. Now, if he's just going to be anchored down and going to be that end, they can run those kind of blocks his way. How much will that limit his efficiency if he's always there? Will be my only concern. I like how they use him now. I think he's just that kind of X factor guy where wherever he's at, there's an opportunity for a play to be made. Yeah, I hear you on the win rush rate for sure, but I think there's certain guys you don't want to limit just to one thing. And
that's
with
fair.
him, I like now maybe what you said, Stevie J. Maybe you flip those percentages a little bit though. Maybe that's something that you kind of get into and do on that front. But I wouldn't completely move to just the end. But work with the percentages a little bit, though. I can see that.
At third down, he's got to be rushing the quarterback, though, right?
Yeah, third
and beyond
package,
too.
Put him in there.
Yeah.
In-game package.
He's just so good. And we saw he saved probably 2 touchdowns with his sacks yesterday. Like, just the guy is incredible. Tom Brady was talking him up after the game. Like, the guy is just incredible. It's insane how good he is.
And moving forward, that's just where the Cowboys are going to lean. They were already going to lean on the defense, but now they're going to have to lean more.
And that's what was so impressive.
Right. Very true. And if by hook or by crook this makes them stay with the efficient run game. The run game is being efficient. They stick to it because of what's happened here in week 1. It'll be all for the better for the Cowboys in the short term until Dak gets back.
Yeah. And, defensively, the offense put them in some bad situations.
Terrible spots.
Some really bad. And that's why it was so impressive for them to hold Tampa Bay to 19. It's just not just the score on its face. It's not just 19 points. Oh, Tom Brady, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that. Yeah. But especially whenever you factor in that the offense left that defense with their backs against the shadow of the end zone, turning the football over. Yeah. Man, you got to, tip of the cap. I thought Jordan Lewis had a little bit of a surprisingly good game.
Yeah. Especially coming off the hamstring.
Man, something about Anthony Brown against Tampa Bay. He just can't cover it. He just doesn't. Back-to-back seasons has not had good games against Tampa Bay at all.
He had some good moments, but yeah, the totality of it was tough. I'm trying to think of who else. Donovan Wilson was surprisingly good, and especially considering when we talk about Donovan Wilson, we talk about him as a striker, as a splash play kind of guy, and he got the splash play with the interception. Yep. But it was him chasing Julio Jones across the field deep. That was the one that really surprised me. Malik Hooker, absolutely. So, they touted the safeties at the beginning of the game on the broadcast, and that definitely showed up between Jaron Kearse obviously went out early, but I thought Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson both had really good nights.
Yeah, I thought our safeties played. I mean, Kearse was playing good too until the injury.
He was.
So I think our safeties. I think we have one of the better safety rooms in the league. We'll have to see how Israel Ukwamu does, and we're filling in for Kearse for the next 2 to 4 weeks. He showed out in preseason. Let's see what he can do in the regular season. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Are we sure that's the one we're going to see?
That was the early word I saw earlier on Twitter, but
there is word that Bell is kind of more in the mold of a Jaron Kearse, but yeah, I would think that Ikwamu would get the first shot, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, see, to me, Bell is a striker as well. He's a good, solid, quality tackler.
Yeah,
right.
And if I'm thinking of, okay, what can get Bell on the field before Mukwamu, then that's going to be it, just his tackling ability. I think that Mukwamu has the better range and is a little bit better of a ball hawk at this point in time.
Yeah.
But I'm just thankful that we have dudes that can step up and we can feel good about them filling in.
Quality NFL depth at the safety position.
That's how you win titles, is the fewest holes and the most depth. The fewest holes and the most depth. Right now, Dallas has that on defense and none of that on offense.
At all.
Yeah.
It's almost like we said this, though.
Yeah.
A time or two.
Yeah, a time or two. It's wheels up to the guys going over here to a little bit of the injury report. And, next man up, again, you feel better. You don't want to see Basham or Kearse out, but like you said, man, you just feel better because of the depth. That offensive line's scary, guys. That is just scary stuff with McGovern now being out.
Yeah. Like I said, I got to make the move. I think you put Smith back at left guard and you put Peters in at left tackle, and I think you can really give yourself a better and stronger left side of the line. And then really you're worrying about, can Biotish had a good game? I think Biotish played a decent game. Martin played a good game. He missed some blocks. I think they both didn't play perfect, but they played well enough. So if you do that, you're going to have to only worry about the right tackle because the right tackle is an issue.
And my this goes back to the Dak injury. And I wanted to repeat it as we get ready to get up out of here, because you went in with no plan for Tyron Smith. And I got to wonder with the way Jason Peters kind of presented the whole thing, I'm willing to take on a backup role. I'm willing to help these young guys learn, could you have gotten him in sooner?
Absolutely.
That's my
you had to have. And even when Tyrone went down, they still took a couple weeks, like a week or two to get him in.
And so he could have been your starting left tackle. And this goes back to what we were saying at the very beginning of the show, Massey, is these things that Tyler Smith, even though maybe he had a better game than what we anticipated as a left tackle, but the things that went wrong, the Dak injury, and then I referenced another play where he goes down inside helping his guard while there's a wide rusher who just comes in free.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are things that happen because you don't have experience at your left tackle position. That doesn't happen to a Tyler Smith at guard. If you have Jason Peters left tackle, Tyler Smith left guard, neither of those things take place because it's simply a matter of Tyler Smith not being prepared for the left tackle position. He didn't necessarily do anything wrong. He was put in a very, very poor situation by the coaching staff, by the front office. And so now you have an inexperienced guy who's laid off the snap in space, and a guy whips around him, and happenstance, hand hits Dak's hand, it's broke, and now suddenly your rookie 21-year-old left tackle probably feels pretty bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably, it's an organizational failure top down, how they've 100%. Handled the 24th overall pick. But
that's why you got to be proactive instead of reactive.
Facts.
And we are always reactive here.
Reactive.
Here in Dallas Cowboys land.
We're the Avengers. We're not the Prevengers.
Yes.
We're definitely, yeah. That's a good one. That's Stevie J. That was a nice one there. Got to give you that one. Pre-Avengers, the Avengers. Yeah. Not a lot of proactive stuff here.
Massey, I know you got to get back to work. Is it about that time?
It is. I do have to dip out. So,
all right.
I love being on here. So please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Let us know how you feel. Let us know what you want to hear more of, and we'll be delivering it to you here at Pick Six Sports.
Yeah, all right, definitely. And of course, all season long, after every game, due diligence is coming through.
Right.